Andrew.
Hey, Pippa, you're back.
I am back. Did everybody miss me?
Everybody did. I did the intro to the last episode all by myself.
Well, I know I listened to it to check that it was okay.
Oh, dear.
I thought you did a very good job, and I'd like to say that you can call me your friend.
Oh, that's very good. You genuinely did listen to it.
I really did listen to it.
Wow. This is, we should say, the Showstopper podcast.
Yes, the Showstopper podcast where we talk to people from musical theatre land and comedy land about what's going on in musicals, what's going on in the world, and we make up a song with them.
Yeah.
But where are we chatting today?
Hey, this is being recorded in the backstage of the beautiful Frank Matcham designed King's Theatre in Portsmouth.
That's right. We were on a little bit of our tour. We were in Brighton yesterday, weren't we?
Yes, we were, where we did a show that I've already forgotten.
It was set in Enchanted Castle in Northumberland.
Right.
And it was called Way
Pet.
Yes,
and, it was.
It was very bonkers. The audience were rowdy and hilarious.
There was a lot of heckling last night. We don't usually have that much heckling, but there was a lot.
And I think we should be clear what we mean by heckling. So there's unhelpful heckling, and then there's joyous heckling. And joyous heckling is always welcome, which is when the audience wants the show to go in such a direction so passionately that they can't help but shout out. And our characters, we were married, and but he disappeared, and so I found him again. And I said, and he'd gone up to this enchanted castle. And I said, what did you go there looking for? And it was quite a poignant moment. And someone just shouted, bread. So then we did a whole song where the audience, we made the rhyme, and then the audience rhymed with it, bread.
Yeah. And ending in them just singing by themselves, bread, bread, bread. It was quite something.
Very, very funny show. And then we just did a kids show as well, which was set.
It was called Little Red Riding Hood and the Dinosaur.
The classic story.
The dinosaur in question was Gordon Ramsay the dinosaur.
That's right. And it was set, of course, in ancient Egypt.
Obviously.
Obviously.
Listen, Pippa, you were away. You went to Australia.
I did. I went to Australia.
Did you do anything musical theatre while you were in Australia?
No, but I did sing a lot. My husband said, I forgot how much you sing. We're sort of just like...
He's saying a sort of romantic way.
Wait, no, he often says things like that where he means it as an observation, but there's sort of some kind of emotion behind it, like disappointment or resignation, maybe.
Oh, wow.
Because he can't change the singing.
No, if there's anything he can change, it's definitely not the singing.
So because we were in a camper van, so I just kept singing because we couldn't, because the camper van was quite old, so it was a bit...
Right.
So you couldn't play music through it because you couldn't hear it.
I see.
So I had no choice.
Yeah, you just had it. No.
I had to sing musical theatre tunes. And then I would just make up songs, obviously, about what was happening. And sometimes he joins in.
Yeah.
But most of the time, doesn't.
While you were away, my daughter put on her first ever show.
No way.
Yeah. So just before Christmas, we took her to see, we're going on a bear hunt at Stratford, which lovely show. She really loved it. Lots of puppets and stuff.
Stratford upon Avon?
In Stratford, East London.
Oh, yeah. The other Stratford.
Yeah.
Shakespeare's other home.
That's exactly right. The Stratford near my house. We took her there. And so next day, she suddenly commands us, Mummy, Daddy, follow. And we had to follow her into her bedroom. Sit down on bottom, Daddy. Sit down on bottom, Mummy. And she picked up two of her soft toys. She just started singing, Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I was up above it. She's 2, by the way. She sang through Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, and then she bowed and made us and did clapping motions for us to clap. Aww. And then we realized the toys were because she'd seen in the show them using puppets the other day.
Oh my gosh.
So she put on a full singing and dancing puppet show.
Oh, that's so nice.
It
makes me feel like I don't put as much effort into my shows for my husband. Oh, to be 2 again. I still remember the lyrics to one of the songs me and my brothers wrote, which was about recycling. And bear in mind, guys, this is 1987, so we're really ahead of our time.
Amazingly progressive.
And these were the lyrics. Recycle, yes. Recycle, yes. Recycle. And we had 2 glittery pom-poms that were in our dressing up box.
Wow.
And we used them to accentuate the final recycle. And I often think of that song whenever I see a recycling bag. So maybe you can use that, listeners, when you're recycling things. Sing the recycling song.
Hey, maybe this is just going to turn the tide.
Maybe this is it. This is what makes people forget Extinction Rebellion. It's all about the Showstopper podcast. That's what changed it all.
Speaking of which, in this month's episode, Pippa, we have a guest.
Yes, it's so fun that we managed to get Gareth Malone to agree to come on our podcast.
Yeah.
Which we did, which I do explain in the podcast, by me having been on a show with him, and then, as I often do, following them on Twitter. They follow me back, and then I barrage them with a request to be on the podcast. And
now, if you don't know Gareth Malone, your grandmother knows him.
Yes. Maybe your mum knows him, but mostly your grandma. And he would admit that too. He's often on BBC 1 or 2, helping people sing.
Yeah, absolutely. So the choir, the Military Wives, all of those programs where he does his amazing thing as a choir master and inspiring people to come together and express themselves through song and music and taking people who might not expect to put on a performance and getting them to produce amazing results. He does all of those programs.
Yeah, and we thought that he would be a great guest because of his connection with singing, and that we often as Showstopper go into companies and schools and teach people that maybe also would say, I would never go on a stage. Oh, I could never improvise. And we go, you can, and you will for the next 3 hours.
Yeah. And so we spoke to him earlier this month down at the Museum of Comedy.
The Museum of Comedy that we love in Bloomsbury, that everyone should go and visit because it is the best and has a lot of great cutouts of famous old comedians such as Russ Abbott. You can have your picture taken with him. I have many times.
Let me say, have your picture taken with him is a very grand way of saying you can take a selfie if you want.
Well, I mean, I was so excited when I saw that Russ Abbott cutout, and it's still there. So do, if you enjoy this podcast, pop down there and say, I need to get my picture taken with Russ Abbott. And I know what you mean.
Yeah, great. And Duncan Walsh Atkins was on keys.
Yes, he was. Thank you, Duncan Walsh Atkins, for making the journey.
Let's have a listen.
Okay. Gareth Malone.
Hello, this is my first podcast.
Ever?
I think ever.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
That really surprises me because
podcast cherry.
If I would say there'd be like 700 million choir podcasts that would be like, dear Gareth.
It's huge. No one's asked me. You're the first person to ask me, so I was like, definitely.
Oh, that's so nice.
Treat me gently.
We will. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm really surprised. I don't know why I'm so surprised. I would have thought you'd have 1,000 Instagram instant messages going, "Hi, Mr. Malone.
Oh dear.
My name's
Should
Terry."
I not have said that?
You're going to get
from
so
Northampton.
many. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for honouring us with your first podcast. We will treat you gently, but ask you probing questions about the world of
gentle probe.
This is very exciting.
Now, Gareth, I met you, and this is often a theme of how we get people on podcasts. Pippa goes on something and then goes, "Hi,
How about
you come and join us on our podcast?" And luckily, 9 times out of 10, they say yes. So here you are, and we met on Gareth Malone's All-Star Music Quiz.
an excellent program? Sadly, a one-off.
One-off,
Well,
you know. But
there is. Yes, I was hopeful for more, but there's no slot.
No.
So sadly, no.
What was the conceit?
The conceit was that I ask a panel of comedians and well-known people, Ed Balls and musicians.
Ed Balls, I forgot that Ed Balls was on it.
Balls
Yes.
was there. It's brilliant. And I asked them a series of challenging musical questions and conundrums, like, can you play this backwards or identify this tune backwards?
Yes, because Yolanda Brown's played
Baker Street.
Back the saxophone. She's a brilliant saxophonist, and she played the backwards.
Oh wow!
It was mega. And we had Rich Beadle.
Oh yeah,
who's the
Hamilton
MD. So it was royalty, but sadly, the only music quiz on television is the one that they do on Saturdays, where they do the. Do you know this song?
No.
Can you identify these songs? Do you know that?
No.
With Marvin and. Come on, BBC One primetime.
BBC One primetime.
We didn't get that slot.
We don't watch that. We
were too intellectual,
HBO,
far too academic. I think there on BBC Two. So yes, that was fun, and we met.
That's where we met, and then I bumped into you at Euston Station.
Yes,
in Hemmer. We all know that shop, the shop that you go to when you're waiting for a train.
Absolutely,
yes. Or you don't have a phone charger.
Yeah, great. Yes.
Where was I going?
I have no idea. Oh no, you were going off to film your BBC Christmas thing?
I spent a lot of time in Watford. I did a BBC Christmas thing, Gareth Malone's Christmas concert, went out at 9 p.m. on Christmas Eve, which was really good.
Amazing.
It went down very well. I'm hopeful that I'll do it again next year and do some other place and another concert, because it feels like a really sort of, if there was a time of year that was Garethy, I think it would be about 8 or 9 o'clock on Christmas Eve. That feels on BBC Two. That feels like absolutely me.
Gareth O'Clock.
Yes, exactly.
Well, so I think is really interesting, and we get a lot of listeners who are performers. So, like, how did you become Gareth Malone, the choir master man?
In a very circuitous manner.
Yeah,
yeah.
Because you studied drama.
I did.
So originally, what was your original dream?
I've always been somebody who's had a lot of dreams. I've never been short of ideas.
Great.
And wanted to do pretty much everything when I was a kid. And I remember wanting to do radio when I was at school. I was always, if the hands had to go up for a performance, who's going to write the assembly, who's going to make a video about X, it would always be me. And I also played an instrument from a very young age. I played piano, and I used to do theory classes, and if there was ever a singing opportunity, I'd always be there. My mum sings. My mum's from a theatrical family, on the comic side of things, actually, and I think it's just sort of there in the atmosphere of my family. So I got to the end of my teenage years and thought, my instrument wasn't really up. I wasn't really a good enough pianist to go and study piano. I should probably have done a music degree if I'm honest, but I went off to the University of East Anglia because it had a nice new shiny drama studio. That was literally the only reason. And there was a girl that I fancied at the auditions.
Always
and
the
I'm
way.
ashamed to admit that was pretty much it. And in fact, it was probably in the opposite order. And that was that. I went off and studied drama for 3 years, and I know things about no theatre, Japanese no theatre, and katakali and African dance that I had not expected. I thought that when one went to go and study the great dramatic arts, one would be doing Shakespeare and Ibsen and all the classics, but we were doing all sorts of funky stuff.
And of course, you'll know that your other alumni includes Tim Bentinck, who is Mr. David Archer. He went to the University
That's right,
of East
Mr. David Archer. Yes,
there you go.
I have met him at a thing.
Another friend of the show.
We shared a little moment of nostalgia. Yes.
Oh, very nice.
And also Matt, what's the guy's name who was in The Crown? And it was Doctor Who.
Matt Smith.
Yeah, Matt Smith. A few years after me. Matt Smith. Boom.
Matt Smith, David Archer, and Gareth Malone,
and
the
some
choir
other guy
guy
as well that was in 24. James somebody. Anyway, yes.
Wow. So you left drama, not school, but the degree in drama. I also did a degree in drama and was sort of
handy, right?
Well, they're funny, aren't they? Because they're sort of like you haven't quite. I remember, in fact, our one of our lecturers said the problem with this course is you're neither trained as actors or as theorists. So,
did they tell you that at the beginning, or did they tell you that at the end?
No, she told us that once she'd left and was coming back as a visiting
lovely,
tutor when
when
she was allowed to say
I had
it.
exactly that moment where my tutor sat down and said, "What are you going to do next?" And I said, "I'm probably going to go and act or direct. I really want to get into that bossing people around sort of territory." And she said, "Oh, well, you'll need to go and do some studying of acting." And I said, well, "Wait a minute, what was this? What have I just done for 3 years?" And she said, "Oh, no, it just, it's good to have done this." But then I paused the dramatic arts, and I found a little corner in doing theatre and education work and music education workshops and things like that. And I found that there was nobody doing the music. So I just said, I'll sit behind the piano, make up songs, and just found my niche. And I started to learn classical singing at the same time. And I was doing bits of music theatre training as well. And then I went to the Royal Academy of Music, and here I am.
And I think it's really interesting because from a showstopper point of view, because so in showstopper, because we're an improvised musical, actually the most useful thing for all of us is that we've all come from backgrounds where perhaps we didn't imagine we were going to end up in an improvised musical. We might have thought we were going to be
Nobody imagines they're going to end up in an improvised musical, Pippa. It's just a punishment that happens to us.
A beautiful, wonderful punishment.
I was very excited when I saw Richard Branch at the piano. You know Richard Branch at the piano?
Yeah, man.
From Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Whose Line Is It Anyway?
I saw him at a festival or something, and I just couldn't speak to him. I was really genuinely starstruck.
Oh.
So I loved.
Well, Gareth, I can call him right now because he's my friend. That's right, guys.
And we should add, just in case Richard is listening, of course, he's a very accomplished improviser in his own right and doesn't perhaps like being referred to as Richard Branch from the piano.
I apologise, but that is how that's how
we know him. Yeah, absolutely.
And because we all know that phrase, and at the piano, Mr. Richard Branch.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and he still plays. So I did a show with him on Sunday, and he plays. So funny, for the first time I went on stage with the Comedy Store Players with Richard at the piano, I was like, oh my God. In fact, I have a picture.
Gold.
There was a show, I remember that Josie Lawrence sang a song called the Paperweight Song with Mike McShane. Neil Malarkey, was Neil Malarkey? No, sorry. And Richard was on the piano. So they wrote this song, the Paperweight Song, improvised this song, which was one of the best songs. And that's when I went, I want to do that. And then one day I was at the Comedy Store and I was on stage with Josie and Mike and Richard on the piano. And so I said, you have to take a picture of me in this moment because this is when my life has gone full circle.
And you're done.
And I'm done. So
it's nice when you have those moments. I was interesting, as we were talking about drama, and I've often been quite dismissive of my 3 years studying drama and say it's not been very useful, but actually it has been very useful. And the improvisation stuff that we did, the Keith Johnston improv book, the classic, and all that mask work and all that sort of liberation and the freedom to say yes and go with stuff has been really useful in television, because I sort of see my series as extended improvisations. We go in with a premise.
Yeah.
This is very sort of nerdy actor chat, but I go in with what's the word? An aim, an intention, and then I meet obstacles all the way along, and I sort of have to work my way around them and push them through. And so I'm improvising the whole time. It's a strange mix between performance and being, because. And that takes me back to my A-level theatre studies, sitting on a bench, pretending to be on my own and all that stuff. But, on TV, I think you've got to be yourself, but you can't be yourself at rest. You've got to be yourself at work and actively doing something. But that has to be your primary focus. But at the same time, you have to have an awareness of the editing process and the audience as well. There are certain things you can't say. And also I have a responsibility because it's not a performance. It's not we're making story out of something, but I have to actually make something. So it's, I think there's a lot in common.
Yeah, well, we talk about this all the time in Showstopper. Do not worry about nerdy actor chat. That is what we are here for.
Okay. That's what people have subscribed to this podcast for.
In Showstopper, we go in, so we're literally improvising a 90-minute West End musicals. That is what we do. So we're on stage, and so we're having to be in a scene in the moment with each other, but with this head on. Okay, the first half has to end with a cliffhanger, because if it doesn't, why would anyone come back? So you're in the middle of an amazing scene, but you also have to be thinking, oh, we're almost at 45 minutes. The people running the bar are going to be cross. So let's make sure this song ends now. Boof.
Real life pressure.
So there's the real life pressure going on whilst trying to remain in this imaginary life.
I find myself sort of sometimes having to fight to get my agenda to be the primary thing, not because I'm greedy, but when it becomes a production company or the director and all of that, when that starts to feel like it's leading, then it's not as interesting to watch, I think, and it's not real for the people involved. So I spend a lot of time sort of trying to make sure that people don't think of what we're doing as making television, but we think about it as doing the actual thing, which is about focus and just really being in the moment with them. And ignoring the fact that there's a bloke there with the camera, who sometimes butts in a really annoying way to say that we need to change the battery or whatever. Or, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. Could you just say that again? All of that crap that's really in the way.
And as you've gone on and done more programs, have you had greater ownership over those aspects?
I think so. I think actually it started with an excellent director, a guy called Ludo Graham, who used to work with Timmy Mallet back in the day. And he's a very good director. And he had made a program, I don't know if you ever watched it, called Paddington Green, which was a fly-on-the-wall observational documentary where he just lived in Paddington Green and rode around on the buses and went to the laundrette and just hung out with people. And it was just little pieces about people's lives. And so when he came to film with me, he referenced that a lot. And he said, look, I just want to hang out with you. And we spent the first day, he filmed everything I did, from the washing up to packing my bag to go ready, absolutely everything, on the bus, running because they'd made me late, all of those things. And actually they only used about, 4 seconds of it on the final program, but it was such a good training day. After a while, I just felt like I was chatting to him and not doing telly, which I think is sort of the death of a lot of. Well, it makes me feel a bit daytime, and that's no. I don't wish to denigrate daytime, but it's, that sort of like,
it's not your aim.
Join us later to find out whether the house is worth, it's very sort of presentational style, which is not me.
I suppose it's the balance, especially because now reality TV is such an art, in terms of going, all right, we can see the story arc. So of maybe pushing you, like, hey, Gareth, that lady.
Do you think you might? After that, actually my first, 4 or 5 series were very organic. I found there was a moment on Military Wives where, you're probably aware that there's a process by which a series gets commissioned, and they do a sort of sketch. Gareth will, but it's awful to read. They're like, what if Gareth doesn't feel like doing that? Gareth says F off.
Have you asked Gareth?
Yeah. And so I read this précis of what I might do, and it looked, it's like, okay, that seems likely. We'll go, and the women will be underconfident, and I'll build them up, and then maybe they'll sing here or there, and we did it, and the reality totally rejected the plot that someone had imagined, and we had to sort of rip it up. And I remember having a very liberating conversation with the director, who was like, I don't know what we're doing. And I've always now tried to inhabit that space and encourage the directors as well to just go with whatever happens. So Grenfell, obviously, we had to take that approach. With those kids, it was just following them and being there, and that was it. Yeah, absolutely no. We there was an agenda set by the school, which was we would like a performance to mark going back. I said to the kids, do you want it to talk about Grenfell? Do you want it to commemorate? How do you want to deal with it? And they told me what they wanted to do. And then I said that to the school, and the school were very worried about it. Anyway, it all came good. But that had to be, without question, sort of the purest documentary that I'd done up to that date. And then following that, I went into prison. Which was even less telly, if you like, less structured. There was absolutely no structure whatsoever, other than the structure of the prison, which we had to navigate our way around. So that I really enjoyed that, actually. Although the first 6 of the 9 weeks were almost impossible, but it came together in the last 3.
And what was it that made it impossible? Just because of
just the
infrastructure?
The infrastructure of the prison. Yeah. I mean, just so well. Plus you've got a lot of very damaged young men in there who don't necessarily want to play ball. And if you say, right, okay, well, I'll be there at 11 tomorrow and we'll do the thing. Okay, great, fantastic. And then you come back and they've stabbed somebody or whatever.
Something's happened.
Which happened regularly. So yeah, that was an interesting, extreme version of me having to improvise my way out and think, wow, what do we do next? But I quite enjoy that. And I enjoy the process of talking with directors about what's in front of us, who's interesting, what's coming up, where I should go, but the main sort of thrust of it of deciding what music we're going to do is me.
That's so interesting, isn't it, to hear that improv in that way, because so often improv is thought of as wacky, joke, and obviously we talk at it from a musical theatre point of view, but that it can very much be just part of a process. It doesn't have to be an improv show, but we can be improvisers in our spirit.
Yeah, such a great life skill. Yeah, I think when you're a teacher, you're an improviser as well.
Yeah, of course.
My wife's a teacher, and she's constantly having to think on her feet and find the right thing to say, and always with a kind of upward momentum is the let's move everybody on. That positive spirit is very important in teaching.
Yeah, we do a lot of improv training for business, and what we often say is these skills are for any situation where you have to listen and build. Yeah, that's all it's about.
Do you not? I find myself I went into a shop yesterday, and I find myself in these little scenes, and I sort of faintly know the guy behind the counter, and suddenly I'm in a scene where Gareth Malone walks into a shop and the guy goes hi, and I say, hello, how are you? And we have a long chat, and then I say goodbye. And I don't know, life is like that, isn't it? And you have a choice about how you approach those things. You can...
all the world's a stage, I believe someone once said. But it's true. And actually, I find myself doing that all the time, like talking to someone and then being like, what might you say next? And you can go a bit mad and start analysing literally everything. In fact, there's a theory of transactional analysis where you say something and then I pause and I think about how I might respond. Will I respond with my parent, with my child, or my adult?
Oh,
I mean,
And then Pippa always chooses to respond with her child.
Yes, I was going to guess.
And now, Gareth, obviously we're an improvised musical. Yes. Have you ever been in one, or have you? Here's quite an interesting question.
I'm in one all the time in my head.
But are you? I can imagine the West End producers going, let's chuck Gareth Malone in this. Have you been approached to play a character in a musical?
Weirdly, no. And I keep saying to people, I'm ready to be. I thought I would be asked to be Mr. Cellophane in Chicago. But I could, you know.
Do you know who I see you as? In Waitress. What's his name?
Yes.
What's his name, that character?
Is he a total dweeb?
He's a dweeb.
Oh, what a massive surprise. I'm leaving.
He's got the best song though.
I
love you means you're never ever ever getting rid of me, and it's a fantastic song.
That sounds good.
It's really funny, and it's a great part for someone to step into. So Waitress producers, if you're listening, Gareth is up for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or maybe I could be, I could be King George, couldn't I, in Hamilton? That's totally my range. It's my
Join the queue.
Yeah, there's a big queue, including me. I'm in that queue as well.
You'd be great. Wicked part.
Yeah, everyone. Gavin Spokes is it at the moment, isn't he? Is he right?
Oh, is he? I hadn't realized. Amazing.
Who has been on our podcast. Just keep telling people how great everyone is on our podcast.
Essentially what you're saying to Gareth is this podcast is a stepping stone to playing King George in Hamilton.
I'm so glad I'm here. Did I mention that? I really like it.
Now, you just said as a joke, all your life is a musical in your head, but is it really because it is in mine?
Well, yes, it is. See, the thing is, in my house, and my wife often bemoans the fact that people would say to her, oh, you're going out with a musician, how brilliant. Oh, you're married to Gareth Malone off the telly. Must be wonderful. He must sing you beautiful songs all the time. And of course I don't. I sing, stupid songs about making coffee, or I'm very often a bad Italian tenor. There's a very, very bad Italian tenor in my head. There's a sort of like Russell Watson kind of, that like light tenor.
Oh my goodness.
He exists. There's a very, very serious German Helden tenor in my arsenal as well.
Well, Andrew does a great Bryn Terfel, so maybe you can do a duet together later.
Let's unmask when Duncan comes in. Amazing.
That man's consonant. You could rest a cup of tea on that man's consonants.
Do you have a favourite musical? Do you feel about musicals?
When I love them with all my heart. And when I hate them, I really can't stand them. But I think that goes for most art forms. I love opera, but I hate it when it's silly. I like serious opera. I like my operas dark and miserable. And I like my musicals to be uplifting. I think I like an uplift. I love the do you hear the people sing moment? That I love a bit of that. A little bit of that, whatever that thing is.
Do you have a musical you hate the most?
The one I love the most was Evita.
Oh, great.
I was in it
Good
when
choice.
I was 10. I was one of the kids. You
could still do it. Still available for that part.
The whole lot. Yes, so that's my favourite, and I think it's probably Lloyd Webber's best. I think Tim Rice is brilliant. It's fantastic. So such a good. It's well structured. The songs are really great. It's a little bit gritty as well. It's not all the Phantom for me is a bit too much Puccini and Cod Puccini. It's not my favourite of his. My least favourite musical, I can't. No, you're challenging me. Do you want to throw a few my way?
Our least favourite is Cats.
I hate Cats.
Good.
I hate Cats.
Be in the gang.
Down with Cats. I'm sorry, and I love the Lord very much.
Oh, no disrespect.
No disrespect to the Lord.
It's not his best work. It was no surprise to me that the film was not as popular as it perhaps could have been, because I went when I was 16 to when it was on Drury. Is it on Drury Lane? It was. I think it was dying a bit of death by that point. It was in the last death throes of the production. It's been on for since time immemorial. And I went, and I'm with my then girlfriend, and I've never been so fidgety. And I kept waiting for it to start.
Which is interesting.
When's the plot coming?
Because my husband saw it when he was, 10, and he loved it so much.
Too old, wasn't he? 16.
Yeah, probably. But also he was from the provinces, and he'd never seen a play, and he couldn't believe that someone was dressed as a cat. But the film, because we went to see we did go and see the film.
This must be this is the first episode we've recorded since the film has been out.
Oh,
so
my
we
goodness.
should just pause a little second and just say, OMG, guys.
We are now in the cat segment.
Yeah.
We are now in the cat segment.
What was amazing about it for me was watching CGI on top of CGI and having a real realization that the reason Cats is brilliant as a production is because of the dancing and the physicality of the actors. So they bring it to life and you're like, how are these people? These are people, but they are moving amazingly like cats, and they dance, and the choreography was fantastic. And then here's a film that has managed to make people who can move and dance like cats look like they cannot move and dance like cats. So the CGI has actually made them less like cats than they would have been if they just let them go. Some of the cats, they don't have paws, they have hands, and they have trainers on, and it's just really, there's so much wrong.
It's so very disturbing. And then there are little mice with the faces of children on them. And the terrified children. It's genuinely, and I said this to my wife, and she said, "No, you're just being silly. It's not really. It's genuinely disturbing."
Oh, I really want to see it.
When they eat the cockroaches with human faces on them, it's it's really.
But talking about the physicality, I loved Starlight Express. It was absolutely fantastic. I think I was the right age for that. It was a bit like your husband. And I sat in the. Did you ever see it? It was down at near Victoria.
I think I was like 8 when I saw it.
Yeah, I was something like that, 9, around that age. And you sat within a little skate rink, and they went around you, and they were skating everywhere, and the songs were great. I mean, it wasn't a brilliant story, but as Richard Stilgoe, isn't it, who did the words?
But it's about the spectacle rather than the, so it becomes almost less about it being a musical and more about, look at these amazing people in real life doing this thing that we cannot comprehend, and that's kind of what you might want to see.
I mean, that's a bit of great tradition, isn't there? ENO. The Colosseum, they had an elephant or horses. Or they did they reenact some kind of gymkhana there.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, the spectacle.
Bring that back.
Why am I paying money?
And apparently this is part of the reason that Cats is so weird as a musical. Have I talked about this on the podcast before?
I don't know.
So. Okay.
You've got this is feeling like a cat in your bonnet.
Here's a little thing. I learned about this on a YouTube channel called 12 Tone Music. There's a video essay about how cats came to be so weird. And apparently it's something to do with a really dull licensing agreement with the theatre, and they needed a big space for it, and their perfect venue was a place that had been a theatre and had since it was used for TV hires and corporate stuff, and they were not very keen on changing it for a theatre and losing all of their clients. Apparently Lloyd Webber and his team said to the theatre, look, if we run for a long time, it's going to be no problem because you're going to make loads of money off us. If we close really quickly, it's not going to be a problem because you're going to get back all of your existing corporate clients. The only problem is if we are mediocre and run for sort of moderate amount of time. So they agreed to pay a massive penalty if they ran between something like a year and 3 years. Then they'd have to pay a massive fee. So from that point on, there was no incentive in the production to be anything other than absolutely amazing or completely diabolical. Wow. So they just went, screw it, let's go for it. Any crazy idea, we'll just turn it up to 11 and do it. And that's why it's such a strange place. Musical.
It's a strange starting point, isn't it?
Yeah.
Wow. You said your mum came from a theatrical background.
That's right.
And we read on your Wikipedia page, because that's how we research, our thorough research.
Good. Yes, I was updating it only this morning.
That your mum and dad met in a Gilbert and Sullivan
That's
society?
correct. Well, it was Streatham Light Opera Company.
Oh, well, my parents met at the Phil Beach Light Opera Society.
And I met my wife at the Edinburgh University Savoy Opera Group.
Oh, that sounds very grand.
Savoy Operas being where the Gilbert and Sullivan operas were premiered. The Savoy Theatre.
Oh, I see. How interesting.
Pippa gave me a look as you're not joining in this game, Andrew. We were talking about GNS.
That was my listening face.
Oh, was it?
My listening face looks very much like my judging face.
Resting, disinterested face. My parents met doing, I think, a production of A Country Girl. And there's various pictures around my house of the program where my mum had written a number. It was very cute. Apparently they saw each other across the stage and made eyes at each other, and my mum went home and said, I've met the man I'm going to marry, which is quite something. And they're still married very happily, I believe. But there's also a picture of my father playing. It's so unwoke. He's playing an Indian and he's dressed in a manner most unseemly.
Oh dear.
We don't do that anymore.
No.
Does that mean you were brought up
Thinking that was okay.
Thinking that was okay. And may I say you look lovely today in your sari.
Yes, thank you so much.
Does that mean you were brought up around singing? Because my parents met in this light opera society. They continued to be in this light opera society. I mean, they're still technically in it. They're just too old to do it. Don't worry, they don't listen. When I was brought up around Gilbert and Sullivan and singing, and so it was never strange to me that people should sing as a hobby, as a job, as anything. So we just always sang. My dad used to sing us to sleep with Titwillow from the Mikado. So whenever I hear that,
willow,
yes, little Tom Tit sang willow, Titwillow, Titwillow.
We found a key.
Hey.
Harmony, almost. Yes, I had exactly that experience. We always sang. It was always normal. And if somebody said, "Oh, how does that song go?" somebody would sing it. There was no issue. There was no barrier to singing. I was Nanki Poo at a very important age. I was about 18, and I was very much in love with the girl playing Yum Yum. And
it's a bit of a theme in your life, isn't it?
Well, that's two. Yeah, that's enough for a thing. Yes, it's a thing.
Yes, more than one.
Turns out, Gareth Malone, human.
And Andrew, because I don't know about this part of your life, and it's always nice to learn new things after a long time of knowing someone.
Yeah, great.
But Laura was like backstage more than on stage?
No, she was a proud ensemble member.
All right. Yes. But you didn't sing. Your eyes didn't meet across a duet.
No. So we met in my first year at university, and we were in the Edinburgh University Savoy Opera Group, and we got together 4 years later because I moved like lightning.
Yeah.
And then we got married just another 8 years after that.
I always think, because Andrew often plays my dad in Showstopper, and I always think it would be really awkward if we ever fell in love because you'd always been my dad.
Yeah, that would be the bigger barrier other than we're both married.
Yeah. Those
Break
feelings
it up, guys.
do not exist.
My God, the chemistry here, you could cut with a knife.
Yes.
Or just imagine the magazine stories because everyone...
I'm glad that you put so much thought into this.
Yeah, she has been thinking about it.
I think about a lot of things. Anyway, should we make up a song?
Let's do that.
It's an improvised musical. We make up songs. So we're going to make up a song with you.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
I feel fine. I feel very relaxed about that.
Great.
But kind of excited.
Sort of sinister. Let's go for
a sinister song?
No, it doesn't have to be. You sounded a bit sinister.
Okay, I didn't mean to. Maybe I'm a little nervous.
You don't have to be nervous.
Hey, any reaction, whatever's true for you, Gareth.
I'm both nervous and excited and very happy.
I'd like you two to do a romantic ballad.
Yes. Okay.
When you've met backstage. Of course, it's the story of Gareth's life.
Oh, great. Yeah.
But made into a sort of Broadway.
Yeah, the Broadway version.
Of my parents.
Yeah.
Jamie and Sean. You're
Shan. Jamie, I thought you were so good as Coco.
Oh, hey, thanks. I particularly enjoyed your Yum Yum.
No one's ever said they liked my Yum Yum before.
I loved your Yum Yum. I'm kind of embarrassed to say it. It's the most beautiful Yum Yum I've ever seen.
Oh, Jamie.
When I saw your Yum Yum across the stage, something happened in me.
What are you saying, Jamie?
It was deep inside my Indian costume. It was deep inside my massive balloon pants. It was deep inside my heart. That's where your Yum Yum now lives forever.
Felt the same when I saw you in your Coco suit. I thought that's a guy I have to pursue. He is the man who I want to sing to me.
And I sing willow, tit willow, tit 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 willow, Yum Yum and willow and tit 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 willow. These are the songs that matter to me. These are the Yum Yum songs.
These are the songs that matter to me.
Oh, these are the songs that matter to me. These are the songs that matter to me. The Yum Yum
willow, yum. Tit tit willow, yum. Tit tit willow, yum.
Great.
Nice.
Lovely.
That's so fun.
I love it.
Great.
These are the songs that matter to me.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
So much of it is about finding the hook that sounds like that could be in the musical about two people who met at the Mikado. Yeah. Thanks so much, Gareth Malone. And if people wanted to find you, other than just Googling you and turning on the telly, is there anything like social media or any of that stuff?
I'm all over Instagram. Very annoyingly, I'm Malone Gareth on Instagram. I'm Gareth Malone on Twitter, and I'm on Facebook.
Great.
Come and find me. Come and say hello.
But if you ever have a Gareth-shaped hole in your heart, just tune into BBC Two on Christmas Eve at
That's right.
8 p.m. He'll be there.
Fingers crossed.
What a lovely man.
What a lovely man. Oh, that was great.
Every time I look in his face, I think he looks like Harry Potter grew up and became a choir master.
I'm sort of following you there. Like Harry Potter grew up and turned into Gareth Malone.
That's right, the choir master. Really interesting to hear that he started in drama and that he would love to be in a musical.
Yeah, absolutely. Producers, sign him up.
Sign that man up. I'm excited who we get to speak to next.
We know who it is.
Yeah, we do.
You listeners, you don't know.
No, you're going to have to find out by listening next time.
Yeah. So if you don't already subscribe to the podcast, then you should subscribe.
Yes, you should. And you should tick the old, this is the best podcast, which is by doing 5-star review. And then more people will find out about it and more people will get to enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. Or, the other way is just to tell someone in actual life.
In real life, just say, when people say, has anyone got any good podcasts that they're listening to? You can say, yeah, Showstopper the Improvised Musical. And you have to use that voice.
Yeah, that's the podcast recommendation voice.
That's right.
And also you can get in touch with us if you'd like.
Yes, you can by finding us on Twitter at The Showstoppers.
On Instagram.
At Showstopper Musical.
On Facebook.
/ The Showstoppers.
Or go to our website.
Showstopperthemusical.com.
I think you got them all right in one go, Pippa.
That's really
that might
impressive.
be the first ever episode that's happened.
That's true. I've been practicing. It's only taken 2 years.
Great. People could send us a little message.
Oh, yeah, we
what they
love
enjoyed.
it. Send us a message because we're needy. We're performers. We need to know that you enjoyed it. We need to know who's your favourite. So just make sure you message us who you like the most.
This is not on social media, but in person. I was chatting to someone the other day who listened to our Andrew Nyman episode. And he said he had been an usher when Andy was on Fiddler on the Roof. And he told me this special thing. Apparently there was a thing known as the Nyman Pat.
Oh, right.
Pippa's looking very worried. It's okay. It's a good thing.
Is this a good story?
The Nyman Pat is if you were sitting in the usher's seat, and the usher's seat is sort of down an aisle where the cast have a lot of their entrances and exits. Towards the end, Andy Nyman would tend to do a little bit of an interaction and a little bit of a Tevier blessing and a little pat.
Oh, that's so nice.
Special for the ushers, and there was something there they would talk about. And before you went on to sit in the first time, you'd be told, now you watch out for the Nyman Pat.
Oh my God. And you spend the whole show going, what's the Nyman Pat? Turns out a lovely thing.
Yeah, turns out.
Maybe we should be less cynical.
I mean, I think you specifically. I told the story expecting you to take it a much nicer way.
What can I say? It's the way my brain works. Shall we finish there?
Yeah, let's just go. Bye.
Bye.